Oops. Try again. Yoso Bhagava Arahang Sama Sambuddho Sawakato Yena Bhagavata Dhammo Supatipano Yasa Bhagavato Sawaka Sangho Bhagavantang Sadamang Sasangang Imehi Sakare Hiyatarahang Aropitehi Abhipujayama Sadhuno Bhante Bhagava Suchira Pariniputopi Pachima Janata Nukampamanasa Ime Sakare Dugata Panakalabhute Patiganhatu Amhakangdi Haratang Hitaya Sukhaya Alahang Sama Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi Suwakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Bhagavato Sawaka Sangho Sanghang Namami Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa Iti piso Bhagava Arahang Sama Sambuddho Vichacharana Sampano Sugato Lokavidu Anuttaro Purissa Dhammasarati Sata Deva Manu Sanang Buddho Bhagava Tamahang Bhagavantang Abhipujayami Tamahang Bhagavantang Sirasa Namami Suwakato Bhagavata Dhammo Sanditiko Akaliko Ehipasiko Opanayiko Pachatang Veditapo Vinyuhi Tamahang Dhammang Abhipujayami Tamahang Dhammang Sirasa Namami Supatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Ujjapatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Yaya Patipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Samichi Patipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Yadidang Chattari Purisa Yugani Ata Purisa Pugala Esa Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Ahuneyo Pahuneyo Dakineyo Anjali Karaniyo Anutarang Punya Ketang Lokasa Tamahang Sangang Abhipujayami Tamahang Sangang Sirasanamami. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, not busy with duties, and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm, and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove, wishing in gladness and in safety. May all beings be happy. Whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be happy. Let none deceive another, or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another, even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, free from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, Sadhu. Sadhu. Okay. Great. No questions this evening. Yay. Wishful thinking. Yeah, no questions, so. Okay, so we can all go to bed. No. Okay, here we have the questions. Danke. Hey, there's not so many. That's really good. You've been so well behaved. What's wrong? Okay, anyway, let's get started. This is best question first. What is care in meditation? This idea of care and kindness. And this is a great question because sometimes we have so many assumptions in our spiritual life. We all know the importance of compassion, care, loving kindness, metta, sympathetic joy, and so many words for it. So we may be able to define it, but do we actually know it? If you don't know it, how can you practice it? And it's a question which has come up in a number of the people being interviewed today and yesterday as well. Now, how can we practice care? And of course, one way of practicing care is have a little pet, a little dog or a cat at home. If you have a little dog or cat at home, and then, I don't know, maybe dogs. I used to love cats. I don't know why, but we used to have this cat called Kit Kat. And it was such a smart cat. It's very easy to have this beautiful kindness towards it, especially when it started getting old. And that kindness, that care which you have, you can see that animals know exactly what that is. They know that if you care for it or if you are angry at it, and if you are kind to these little animals, they'll always be with you. So first of all, if it's care, that whatever you're caring for stays with you. It's not afraid of you. And that also means if you care for things like parts of your body in meditation, straight away you have a connection with that a part of your body. Your attention can remain with it. Because when we put our attention on something, often we put our attention by willpower, we focus, sometimes we make deals, and you better stay with this or else. And we try to keep our attention on something, but the key to having attention on something is actually caring for it. If you care for something, it's just so easy, to keep the attention there. And the other one, of course, is that with the joy. It gives you so much joy. And what you care for usually brings up a lot of joy as well. And so that care, you can know it first of all by its function of maintaining the attention on something effortlessly and bringing you joy with what you're doing. And that can become very, very powerful. Because when you're just caring, say, for parts of your body which need a bit of TLC, you're actually learning how to care for yourself. We have this big thing in modern life where so many people they don't value themselves. They've got a low self-opinion of themselves. And because of that, they keep denying themselves beautiful opportunities for happiness. They don't learn how to meditate and be peaceful and still because they don't think they deserve it. And to me, that's something which is really, really, really weird. If you can't care for yourself, how on earth can you care for somebody else? I mean, you live with somebody else, some of you, but not that long. Maybe 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day. But you're with yourself 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I can't escape from myself. You may go into a cave, you may become a monk, you may go off into some desert somewhere, But I've noticed wherever I go, I'll take me with me. You can't escape, so you better learn how to care for yourself. And when you care for yourself and have a beautiful relationship to yourself, life is so much easier, so much more fun. I'm a fun-loving monk. I care for myself. Because you care for yourself, not just, first of all, the body, but then, of course, your mind. How can you actually care for your mind? What does your mind need? And that's one of the reasons why, and I've got in this habit such a long time ago, often I pause during my day, any old time, doing anything. I just ask my body, how are you? Can you ask your body, how is it right now? Anything you want, body? And the care, just whatever your body wants and needs, within reason, obviously, then you say, yeah, I can give you that. So you're showing your concern, asking your body what it needs. And it's just like each one of you. If I just pass you and just smile at you, or maybe I break the noble silence by, how are you doing? Those sorts of things, you see that, it shows you I care for you. You're not just a student and I'm the big teacher. Because I've known some of you for such a long time. So it is like a family. It is just like, parts of my big friendship people. And so I try my best to care for you. And little things, noticing what you eat, if I possibly can. And then maybe, there's not much there and I've got some and you just give it to somebody. I love doing stuff like that. That means you're actually learning how to not just make all beings be happy and well just as a thought, but actually making it a reality with your actions of body and speech. And of course then after a while what care feels like. It's like a person, like another being. You get to know them. You chat with them, have cups of tea and coffee together, and soon you get to know who they are and their personality, where they're from, and how they behave, how they think. And so as you are developing care, kindness, whatever, don't give it a definition, all those things. As you are developing those things, get to know them. And as you get to know them more and more, you get to be familiar with them. You know exactly what care is. And the second thing, just how incredibly powerful care is. And of course, care is not just for beings. You experiment and you give care to machinery as well. And I did this first of all. I say this and it works. I don't know why. I was a physicist, a scientist. And I had a cement mixer when I first came here. We went to buy it in Welshpool because we were building all these huts and everything else, and I was a main builder in those early days. And that cement mixer, it's a petrol-driven one. There was at times when other monks, they tried to make it work, they couldn't. They pulled the handle and it just didn't fire. Every time that happened, they'd ask me, and I'd stroke it. There you go, cement mixer. I would. You may think I'm mad and crazy, but it always worked. And I pulled the thing and it worked first time. And that's not craziness. That's actually what happens. You give kindness to machines. And there's a lady here, I won't say who she is, but she was running our Kalyana Mitta group some years ago. And when that was in Saturday evenings, and I had just gone to do some chanting somewhere, and as I was only close by, so I was walking back up Nansen Way. That's where our city centre is. And as I was walking back, to have a nice quiet evening, I saw that instead of them doing any meditation, they were just going to go out to the beach. These young Buddhists. But they had a problem because the boot of their car was jammed. They couldn't undo the boot of their car. And I was just coming up, and everyone was trying it. No one could open it. And so, of course, and they asked me, he said, Ajahn Brahm, you're a good monk, you've got powers, can you open the boot of the car? And what I said to this Kalyana Mitta, he's a really good friend, she's a really good friend, I like her very much. And I said, if you promise you'll become a bhikkhuni, then I'll try and open the boot of your car. And she didn't think I could do it, because I'd all had to go at it. So she said yes. And so I did my loving kindness thing on the car, and then I had the little key, opened it, and it opened up first time. Is that true, Ronnie? Yeah, she's you're not embarrassed, that's very good. But she got out of problems because there was another member of the Kalyana Mitta group who was a lawyer. And she said, yes, she promised she'd become a bhikkhuni, but she didn't say when. Maybe in the next life. So she got out. But no, really, that's what I did. Just give loving kindness to the machine. And the best story of that, gentleman, I still can't remember his name. I used to know his name before, but it's quite a few years ago. He stayed at Bodhinyana Monastery for a year, and then afterwards he went back to do some studies over in his homeland of Germany. And first day on campus in Germany, he passed an ATM machine. This is the ATM story. And as he passed it, he heard this sound, like a gurgling sound from the ATM. And because he'd been with me for a while, he thought that ATM was welcoming him onto the university campus. Well, why not? So he said to the ATM, yeah, thank you. And every day when he passed his ATM, he'd always give it loving kindness, this care. He's saying some words like, may you never run out of money, may no one hit you, when they found out their bank balance is zero. May you always have lots of currency in your accounts, may no one try and steal from you, maybe you'll be a happy ATM. Or something like that. And he did that for quite a few months. And then what happened next? And of course, I met him several times after this happened, and every time I made him promise, did this actually happen? He said, Ajahn Brahm, I would not lie to you, this actually happened, it occurred. I can't explain it, but it happened. I was having my lunch on a bench, within maybe 5 meters or 10 meters of the ATM, maybe 5 meters or something. And, it was a nice sunny afternoon or sunny lunchtime. No one had been close to the ATM ever since I sat down. I'd been sitting down for about half an hour or more. And he heard the sound again, the gurgling sound. And he turned around and he saw coming out from that ATM machine, no one would press in any buttons, a 20 euro note. Just came out all by itself. What did he do? He's a poor student, so he picked up that 20 euro note, waved it in the air. Does this belong to anybody? No one claimed it. So he said, thank you, ATM, and then put it in his pocket. That's the result of loving kindness. So if you're short of cash, go to the nice ATM, beautiful ATM. May you be happy, or may never run out of electricity, never get exchanged, or whatever. And you'd be surprised it actually works. Many of you may have had trouble, have experience like that. A key gets stuck and you can't open it, and then you just give it loving kindness and things open up. That's certainly while I was visiting Oslo years ago, giving talks somewhere or other, and I landed in Oslo airport, and just, they had the car park outside, and so we walked to the car, and there was a big queue, because the boom gate wouldn't open. The boom gate was stuck. So I just walked over the boom gate, gave it some loving kindness. It opened. They always remember me for that. You may laugh, it's really helpful, you know. Anyway, those are examples of care. Care is powerful. If I can do that to a boom gate, to an ATM machine, to a cement mixer, you can do it to your knee pain too. You can zap it and it just gets much, much less. You can do it to your breath. Oh, your poor old breath. Sometimes you give it such a hard time. Breath, breathe in. Breath, breathe out. Breathe a long breath, a slow breath. Oh, come on, give your breath a break. But when you have kindness towards it, you know, I think you do understand I'm kind to you. When I'm kind to you, you tend to smile back at me. Do you like people being kind to you? It gives a lot of joy in that relationship. So I can be kind to my toes. And they're kind back. In other words, we have some joy together. And I'm not joking, my big toe now feels much more, I don't know, it feels like it's glowing compared to my other toe. Anyway, so that loving kindness actually works. So that's how you know what care is. So you cultivate it a lot. It's not just, may all beings be happy and well. It's may all ATMs be happy and well, all locks be happy and well. And sometimes I play around just because I like to be experimental and just see if it works, and it does. So play around with it, and then you get to know what care is. The more you associate with it, the more you have examples of care, and it always gives incredibly positive results. Okay, next question. How to forgive people that are unkind to you? They could make you into a difficult, troubled situation in your life. Thank you. Forgiving people means that you're not allowing them to continue hurting you. This is a simple anecdote. Someone calls you an idiot. Have you ever been called an idiot before? What happens when someone calls you an idiot? They've got no right to call me an idiot. I'm not an idiot. You know, I'm intelligent. They've got no understanding of what I'm doing. They shouldn't call me an idiot. And then you understand they've just called you an idiot 3 or 4 more times. Every time you remember it, they're calling you an idiot again. So it's obvious they're right. You are an idiot. You keep on remembering it. Someone hurts you. They can only hurt me once. Every time I remember it, I think, what did they do that for? I'm going to get them back. Blah, 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 blah. No, every time you remember it, you allow them to hurt you again. So when you forgive, really forgive, it means you're stopping them having the opportunity to hurt you again. They can't take your happiness away anymore. They take it away once, the first time they hurt you. You forgive them straight away, so they can't take your happiness away again. The matter is over. So many people, you're totally innocent, you didn't do anything wrong. But you still allow people to keep punishing you, hurting you, every time you keep thinking of, you know, they hurt me, they shouldn't have hurt me, why did they hurt me? Please forgive. It's like you're walking free. They can't upset you anymore. Sometimes, I don't know, maybe if you do, no, I can't really say this, but if you really do want to teach them a lesson, forgive them straight away. That really upsets them. They really want you to suffer, and you refuse to. They say, you stupid idiot, Ajahn Brahm, why do you get a proper job? You don't really know what you're talking about. Oh yeah, that's true. What? There's no fun sort of saying bad things to that monk. He doesn't get upset. You know what happens when people understand whatever they say to you, it doesn't affect you? Then they stop saying bad things anymore. It's a waste of time. Try that out with your partner. Your partner you live with, if they say really bad things, oh, you're so lazy, just spiritual mumbo-jumbo, going all this retreat stuff. When you're going to a retreat center, that's not... In real world, we have to not go on retreats, we go on advance. You're going backwards, going on a retreat. That's what retreat means, going backwards, and all this spiritual mumbo-jumbo, and I don't know why you do this, you have to pay for this as well. What do you get out of it? How much money do you get? A total waste of time. And if you tell that to your partner, oh yeah, that's quite right. It's really disappointing when someone really tries to rile you, upset you, and you don't play. So I think you can understand what I'm getting. When you have forgiveness, and really give forgiveness sincerely, you're saying, well, you know, that I may not agree with what you say, but you've got the right to say it. You may have hurt me once, but you're not going to hurt me again. Or like the story of the burglar who came to Jhana monastery a couple of years ago now, 3 years ago, and they stole things from our workshop and the tool shed. Quite a lot of expensive things, about $5,000 or $6,000 worth of chainsaws and very good tools and generators. They stole. So what did you say after we found out that they'd robbed the workshop? You say, well, they can steal tools, but they won't be able to steal our happiness and our Buddhist principles. We forgive you. So the monks didn't get upset or angry. There's a good reason for that as well, because everything was insured. And when we got the insurance payout, we could get actually new tools, much better tools. So actually we replaced all the old tools with, you know, just much more modern new ones. So it was such a good deal. It was a really good deal for us. So we were really trying to find out who the heck that burglar was to invite them back again. Now that's a really positive forgiveness, isn't it? So someone hurts you, steals from you, they're teaching a nice Dhamma lesson. About, you know, you can't control others, but yeah, okay, yeah. I survived, I learned from it, I grew from it. Thank you so much. And that means that, oh crikey, it's a waste of time just getting angry or mistreating that person. They don't get upset. So also what happens, but if they really mistreat you really badly, physically or other stuff, then of course we have laws and regulations, and sometimes you've got to tell the police or something, because sometimes that means they're not going to harm others. You may be able to take it, but other people might be in a bit of a trouble. And anyone says, oh, okay, they use me like an entrance mat, like a doormat. That's what you use me as. And thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be your doormat. You can abuse me, talk to me about all sorts of stuff. That's my job. That's my role. So I don't expect anything else except to be exploited to the max. So you can exploit me. How many of you already exploited me during this retreat? I don't mind. So anyway, when I forgive people, I always forgive. I think many of you have done this already. I forgive you in the 3 time zones. I love doing that. So I forgive you for anything you've done by body, by speech, or by mind Even bad thoughts to me. Oh no, not that joke again. If you'd heard it so many times before. So I forgive you for any bad thoughts to me. Even unintentional acts of body, speech, or mind. Or things you should have done which you didn't do. So, so you are forgiven for anything you've done in the past. You are forgiven for anything you're doing now. And you are forgiven for anything you'll ever do in the future, from now until the coming of Maitreya the Buddha, whenever eon that happens. So you're pre-forgiven. You do anything you want. You got a blank check, and you'll still be forgiven. You know that. Why not? Anyway, I love doing things like that, so you're already pre-forgiven forever. What happens when you do things like that? I mean, you don't want to abuse that sort of that trust and that kindness, that love. Anyway, the next question. May you please elaborate on the padded cell analogy as to not follow unhelpful thoughts. The mind has started to make up stories about fellow retreaters. They're probably all true, you know. Nah, just all the retreatants here are just all amazing people. So, the padded cell analogy was that if you throw a ball at a padded cell, it hits the padding and doesn't bounce back and boom, and splosh or splodge or I don't know. What does it sound like? A ball hitting. Anyway, and it just doesn't bounce, it just falls down. So it doesn't reverberate. You have one idea about that person. Just they're not real meditators. And it doesn't create another thought. It doesn't bounce like a ping pong ball. Boing, 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 boing. There's a terrible girl. Yeah, I know she shouldn't be on the retreat. She's always like this. I know her. I can tell her. You know her, just the way she looks. That's. And it keeps going backwards and forwards. And there's actually the word for that, in part, if you want to know, it's papancha. It's like proliferation. It keeps going backwards and forwards, and sometimes it never stops. It echoes in your mind. So when you have a padded cell, nothing echoes. You have one thought, it doesn't create the second thought. It stops. Isn't that wonderful? So that's like the padded cell simile. That's actually just why this is like padding, so I can always use it up here. Ajahn Brahm, is an ideal rate of speed in walking meditation? Yes, 60 kilometers an hour. I don't know. But I know this, just people's sense of self-ego, because I've done this myself years ago. Please don't follow this. This is stupidity. You're doing walking meditation, so you got in the hall over here, 6 or 7 parallel paths, parallel carpets. And so other people are walking there with you. You see if you can be slower than everybody else. There's always one sort of smart aleck who's just really slow. And that really tests you out to see if you can walk slower than everybody. Because slow is supposed to be more mindful. Is it? Well, of course it is. I did tell the tortoise thing this morning, didn't I? And I think I told it in monastery. The guy who's doing the walking meditation. Really slowly. Okay, well, there was, there's a man from Perth. He was a really good meditator. So after the retreat was finished, on Monday he had to go back to work. When he went back to work, he actually worked at Perth Zoo. And so when he sort of showed up for work, he told his boss, "Good morning, boss. Where shall I work today? He couldn't actually speak fast. He was just so mindful, so cool, calm down. So his boss said to him, well, what can I do with him today? And so he's a brilliant boss. He said, go and look after the tortoise enclosure. I can't do much wrong there. Okay, boss. I'll look after tortoises. And off he walked really slowly to the tortoise enclosure. And after a couple of hours, the boss thought, I better go and check up on him, don't know what he might be doing. So he got to the tortoise enclosure, and there was a guy standing there, and the door of the tortoise enclosure was wide open. All the tortoises had escaped. And the boss said, what happened? What happened? Well, I opened the gate and whoosh. Another silly meditation joke, but a good one. I told that story. Anyway, next story. Ajahn Brahm, is there an ideal rate of speed during walking meditation? Keep it natural. Don't force it. And what happens, it just happens to me, it just becomes slow automatically. You don't want to walk slowly, but there's just so much going on. When your mindfulness is really strong, and you see so much, there's so much going on in there. You just can't walk fast. You see the foot lifting. You're not doing this on purpose. There's thousands of different muscles have to move just to lift a foot. That's why it's not a great simile, but you know that sometimes people have strokes and stuff, and they have to learn how to walk again. And then you notice how difficult it is to walk, and how many muscles and stuff you have to activate just one step. It's a very complicated procedure. And it's also why robots, trying to get sort of robotic robots to walk is a very, very complicated process. That's why when you're mindful of it, you see so much. But the last little story of a walking meditation, that another group were holding a retreat here some years ago. There was like an insight meditation group. And so when they do the sitting meditation, everyone sits together. When they do walking meditation, they always walk together. And it was about lunchtime, and this family, so it was, I think, Sri Lankan family, came in, and they said, oh, can we have a quick look at your retreat center? And I said, well, there's a retreat going on. Yeah, you can have a look, but be quiet. So they came over here, and about half an hour later, they came back again, and one of their kids, he had to speak to me. And I said, why? What's happened? He said, Ajahn Brahm, you've got to go to your retreat center now. I said, why? He said, it's been invaded by zombies. Because all these people doing walking meditation really slowly. And this kid had been watching zombie movies on TV or something. And he was convinced that zombies had invaded Jhana Grove. One more story. Okay, one more story. When our monks from Thailand went over to England for the first time, the Chithurst monastery, they wanted to do a meditation retreat. Where can you do it? And there was a clinical psychiatrist. She was head of one of the mental health facilities in the nearest town. And she had a really nice house, an old mansion, and had lots of rooms. And they had like stables, I think. The stables they could use, clean it up a little bit, for a meditation hall. So they had the first weekend meditation retreat. It was in the countryside of Sussex, in the village. And, it's not the best, but it's a place you can meditate. So when all these retreats, about 30 of them, were doing their walking meditation outside, there's one of these middle-aged women sort of in one of the cottages overlooking this house belonging to the clinical psychiatrist. She looked through her windows and she saw all these people dressed in white walking very strangely in a place belonging to a psychiatrist. And it happened. She called the police. And a couple of police cars came to take all of the residents of the mental health facility back into their place. They thought she brought home some of her patients for the weekend. You've never seen walking meditation before. That's what it looks like. So please don't do your walking meditation in public. You might get taken somewhere you don't want to be. Anyway, no. But that was many years ago. That's a true story. That's so funny. So the clinical psychiatrist, he had to do a lot of explaining to the police. And eventually the police understood and let her carry on. Ajahn, you say to let go of the mind. Ego, okay. Is there a part of the mind that seeks the stillness and space, and when you find it, the stillness, does that part of the mind drop away or expand? Right, the mind isn't a thing. It's like a process. So it can get really, really peaceful, very still. The mind is different than the brain. So the mind, you can feel it, you get to know it, like kindness. If you start looking for kindness and getting to know kindness, care, you understand what peace is, what agitation is. All those things, anxiety, peace, fear. Where does fear live? This was an old party trick, but please you can use this if you ever teach. Now you ask people, please put your right hand up if you feel happy, your left hand up if you feel sad. You've got to put one of your hands up. Right hand if you're happy, left hand if you're disappointed or sad. Okay, put your hands up. Right if you're happy. Don't put it down again. Now, those people who've got their hands up happy, please point to the happiness for me. Where is it? It's wonderful looking at you because you're all pointing at different places. Some of you are going round and round and round. Were you imagining that happiness? The happiness was real. But can you locate it in your body? Of course you can't. Because it doesn't live in your body. It lives in your mind. Happiness, peace, care, these are all things which live in the process we call the human mind. And it defines what the mind is. Just like a garden is made of maybe lawn, bushes, trees, fountains. It's the things which are in the garden which actually makes it a garden, which defines it. You would never say that this hall is a garden, because it hasn't got the things which belong in the garden. It's got, a couple of flowers, so that's about it. But it's, the thing by what it contains and what it does. So we want to know what the mind is. All the things which you have to acknowledge belong to the mind. Where they are, that's where the mind is. So little by little, to let go of the mind, you don't let go of the mind, you let go of some of its contents. Just like in a real garden, any weeds, any sort of plants which are noxious, maybe non-natives or whatever, you want to actually get them out of the garden, otherwise they cause some problems later on. So any part of those negative emotions, such as anger and hatred and fear, those are the things you want to weed out, if you like, of your mind. But actually how to weed them out, there's two different ways, and I've used this simile very often. You can water the weeds or water the flowers. Which do you want to do? You water the weeds grow. Get out of here, bad emotions. I don't want you. That itself is a bad emotion. That is watering more weeds. Kindness. Be kind to your negativity. Give loving kindness to the monsters which have invaded your palace inside your mind. And then that's actually how they disappear. You water the flowers, you never water the weeds. And that's actually, you can see it's more positive than just letting go of the mind. As someone pointed out, sometimes letting go is very negative. Letting things go. That's why sometimes it's much better to say, let it be. It's the same thing, really. Let go, you let go of control mostly, and all those things which come from control, like negativity, anger, fear. And instead you let things be. When you let things be, it's exactly the same, but it's a much more positive and easier thing to do. You let the monster be, who's come into your palace. You care for it. And the monster just can't stand that. It gets smaller and smaller, and its monster qualities disappear. So that's actually how you find stillness and space. And so it's not that the mind drops away, it's just you're cultivating a more beautiful mind. But when the mind starts to vanish, not drop away, but disappear, that is when you get into deep meditations. So there's not many things are happening. Not many contents of your garden are left. It's a beautiful, ephemeral garden, but real. And they're the beautiful places. Okay, dear Ajahn, stillness flowing. Ajahn Chah's biography seems to illustrate a very tough, austere approach. You know, people say that. I actually lived with Ajahn Chah for 9 years. I know him just, he's my teacher, and I just not just investigated him, lived with him. Tough, austere approach. Sometimes he can be tough, he can be incredibly kind. He was always kind to me, never austere to me. How do I reconcile this with the relaxed to the max philosophy? You know, when Ajahn Chah did die, and I remember going over, for the funeral with lots of others, and just the Western monks, we started having this conversation, and that, to be expected. What did Ajahn Chah teach? And then we started arguing. He didn't teach this, he taught this. No, he didn't. I heard it, he taught this. And then it was Ajahn Chakra, my predecessor, who said a very wise thing, shut us all up. He said, there is as many teachings of Ajahn Chah as there are monks who heard them. We all have our own memory of Ajahn Chah. We all keep some of those teachings, and other teachings we either forget or we just push aside. So what did Ajahn Chah really teach? Maybe 100 monks who were with him will say different things. And that is natural. When I pass away, what did Ajahn Brahm teach? Nothing, just told jokes. Another would say, no, he taught jhanas. Because you can understand that. There's so many teachings that you only remember some of them, which are really important to you. But very tough, austere. In those days, people thought tough, austere monks were the best. So we'd always add a bit of toughness and austerity. It's called like There's a word for it, hagiography, which is when you take a sort of experience and you add to it, you exaggerate the toughness. And that's why when I say, when I was a young monk, it wasn't that bad, to be honest with you. But sometimes it's nice. When I was a young monk, we used to sit up all night. We used to eat rice and frog. Not frogs, only one. It was 1 meal a day. We used to work hard pushing wheelbarrows of earth. We'd never slept. We'd work 25 hours a day. We would... Have you never noticed the tendency to exaggerate all the time, to make it tougher and harder? But the reality was, I enjoyed it. I look back upon those days with a lot of happy nostalgia. Yeah, physically it might be a bit tough. It had some wonderful stories. Little things like, I just remember when I was in the hot weather, over there in your huts, there's no cooler or any fans or anything, so you didn't be, from the waist upwards you were bare-chested and just had your lower robe on. And sometimes, you'd lay down there because we really are hot on your back. And in the huts, there's all sorts of animals in those huts as well, but especially tarantulas. What do you mean, oh? I love my tarantulas, honestly, because, it happened many times. Because it was hot, they'd be crawling on the ceiling and they'd fall down on your chest. The big tarantulas, about that big. And they go, blah, 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 blah. And they tickled. He didn't have many pleasures, as a monk. But I enjoyed that. They never bite you. Have you ever seen a tarantula? They're not that bad. They don't bite you. They're just falling down. It's your fear creates a problem. We're not afraid of them. There's no problem there at all. So I used to like that. Honestly, it's true. So we're very tough, austere approach. It's very simple, but even though we got rice and frogs, we would get the very best frog. And the villagers would take the leftovers. You know what it's like. They always give the monks and nuns the best. So the frogs we got were really good, by comparison. But it was relaxed, the Max philosophy, this retreat. I want to get out of the no pain, no gain mentality, but it seems to be Ajahn Chah's way, which is confusing. It wasn't Ajahn Chah's way. That is just how some of the biographers say it. And some of those biographers, I still remember reading like Paul Breiter's book once on Ajahn Chah. And as I was reading, I said, who the heck is he talking about? That's not the Ajahn Chah I know. And many people are like that as well. When you hear biographies, or even translations, the translation tells more about the translator than the original text. And the same with Ajahn Chah. He's a very kind man, very wise. And really looked after me. So thank you, Ajahn Chah. Dear Ajahn, not having experienced jhana and therefore not overcome the 5 hindrances, can one still undertake mindfulness and reflection of the body? Of course you can. But it's mindfulness and reflection of the body in order to calm things down, not to get to the deep truth of things. It's a gradual training, a gradual path, this Buddhism and meditation. And you can't expect to have the mindfulness necessary to really know how this body works at first. We have enough mindfulness to calm it down, enough mindfulness to know what peace, like the coarser part of peace is, to get more peaceful. And as you get more peaceful, the hindrances get less intense. The main hindrance is wanting. And you get a little bit of happiness, and so you don't want so much. And because you don't want so much, you don't sort of agitate the body or the mind so much, so you get more calm, more peaceful. The body's not doing very much, it's got nothing to do. If you go thinking and planning and just the thoughts go backwards and forwards, then you're still very, very lots of work. You're agitated. I think the number was, I read this not so long ago, I think the brain uses 30 or 40% of the energy which you take in. It's a small thing, the brain, but the amount of energy which it consumes is way out of proportion to its size. And imagine 34% of your energy. Now that, I eat actually not as much as you, but because I don't use my brain, it's very peaceful. That energy's got to go somewhere. One wonderful way for me to lose weight would be to start worrying and thinking and planning. So I should plan my talks. I should worry about them and be concerned and just worry about the nuns, worry about the monks, and worry about everything in the world and what's happening. Then I'd lose weight. I refuse to do stuff like that. But it's true, because the mind, or the brain rather, takes up so much energy, that's why you get tired. And when you cut off that energy to the brain, you're peaceful. Nothing to think about, nothing to do, no work to be done. Yay! You trust your present moment is where your future is being made, so you don't have to worry about the future. Yay! You don't spend all this time thinking about the past and what happened, who did what, and why you did this, and why you did that, and what's going to happen because of it, blah, blah, blah. Just please shut up. Let the past disappear. Learn from the present moment. Also, you find you get so much more peaceful. When you're peaceful, you don't need so much energy. When you don't need so much energy, the energy which you've got can go into the mind. And then your hindrances get rid of it. You can see more. See all the stuff you get up to inside your mind and just how useless it is. And so that means you can be far more efficient the way you use your mind. And then as you develop, you get more mindful of the body. You can be more still. And that creates more mindfulness, which means you can get even deeper stillness, which means you can have more mindfulness. You can start to see these little tricks of the mind to try and exist. And then little by little you cut them off because you can see what's going on. It's not worth it. And then after a while, just you get so peaceful, so still. And that's when you get nimittas coming up. And you think, wow, this is the payoff. Why don't I get into this earlier? And then you get the jhanas, and then you really sort of bliss out and have huge amounts of energy and power. And it don't take any energy at all. Anyway, next question. Bhavatu sabbamangalang niputo chatawang bhava. I've heard the term, to be free first we must stop. Can you please explain this? What is it that stops, and what stops it? Again, what is stopping anyway? That novice who just said stop, or the other person who said stop, was that Angulimala chasing the Buddha with a big sword, wanted to kill the Buddha, and the Buddha was outrunning him. So this was like a very strong murderer, serial killer. Stop, stop! And then the Buddha said, I have stopped, why don't you stop? The whole idea of stopping. First of all, stopping, your precepts, the bad precepts, but stop breaking precepts. Why not stop? Stop smoking, stop taking drugs, stop taking alcohol. Why not? Just stop. It's much more fun not having these things. Why don't you stop saying bad words to people? It doesn't help you. You feel bad about it afterwards if you say something bad to somebody else. Stop lying. Keep precepts. Why don't you stop thinking about the past and the future? Stop. That's why I said that so often people thought that a place like Perth is not a Buddhist city. You see churches, you see crosses, and you see other things. No, there's so many Buddhist signs at every crossroad. The stop signs. Every time I see the stop sign, yeah, that's the Buddha teaching you. Reminding you, every crossroad you come to in your car, stop. So little by little, we stop, and we stop the papancha, what I mentioned, the proliferation. We have that padded cell mind, so something occurs, it only hits us once. They may rob your workshop, they don't rob your happiness. You don't keep on thinking about it. Your mind gets very peaceful. But you know what happens next? When you get very peaceful, if you don't know how to appreciate peace, you get bored. You ever notice some of the most beautiful mountains or peaks in the world? When I was young, they used to put a restaurant on top. They couldn't leave it alone. Why can't you have this beautiful mountain peak and just leave it? No, put a restaurant up there. Good for tourism. What do you want tourism for? If they don't put a restaurant on top there, they put a flag on it. What are you putting flags up on the moon for? Makes no sense to me. But of course they don't do that anymore these days. On the top of mountains and peaks they put mobile phone tower. It's even worse. It's stupid, isn't it? Can't we just leave things alone? Can't we just stop and have places in this world with no mobile phone towers, where you can't get a signal, where you have to stop connecting to the world and connect to yourself instead? And that used to be over in Silicon Valley about 5 years ago. They had this big conference, and that was the theme of the conference. Disconnect to connect. It's run by the big IT companies, Google and Facebook and stuff. Disconnect. Stop. To connect with your body, with your mind, with peace, with freedom. Disconnect to connect. I have discovered the key to enlightenment. Yay! Okay. I have discovered the key to enlightenment. All you have to do is to drink a tea with 4 extra strength Dilmah tea bags and meditate for 1 hour sat on the pointy tip of the stupa. Please share this with retreatants. You forgot the condensed milk in it. Otherwise you don't get sort of enlightened. Whoever said this, can you please, I don't really understand it, so can you please demonstrate it? The top of the stupa is the pointy one. And that stupa is, you know the rules about that stupa, that came from the area around Borobudur in Java, the same stone as that great Buddhist monument. And the person who offered it is one of my favorite monks, in case you don't know, Venerable Sri Panyavaro. And he sort of, his disciples, he heard I was making up Jhana Grove, and he offered all this stone for the stupas and the Buddha. It's 108%. 108 is supposed to be a magic number anyway. 108% the size of the stupas on the actual monument in Java. But anyway, they have these beautiful Buddha statues inside. Have you seen them inside there? But be careful. Because the tradition is that if you can go onto that platform, and if you can reach inside the stupa, and if you can touch one of those Buddhas inside, then the tradition says you will find true love. So if you see any of those nuts, tell them off if they try and reach inside. You see me doing that, tell me off. Any monks, tell them off. If you try that out, be careful, I'm going to tell your partner. There's a bit of fun and games. Anyway, thank you, Ajahn Brahm. Love your teaching, stories and jokes. They make me cry with joy. Is it joy or pain? I don't know. When you asked us to close our eyes, okay, that's nice. When you asked us to close our eyes to see what was in front this morning, I cried with joy as those wonderful color Colour visited again. Ah, that's great. You said let past be past, but what about past that keeps inspiring you in meditation? By the way, an amazing and profound talk this morning. That's very nice. But again, if it's our past which inspires you, yeah, it's okay to use that, but don't overuse it. But most people, their past is all the negative stuff. How many of you, I just said this to someone even this morning, just if you're really sort of having a hard time, just write out 2 pieces of paper. One, all your bad qualities, all the terrible things you've done in your life, all the things you should be ashamed of, all the mistakes you've made, all the errors and things you've done really nasty to yourself and others. Write that in one piece of paper. And the other one, all your nice qualities, your kindness, your generosity. And I said, bring them to me tomorrow. And he said, what will you do with them, Ajahn Brahm? I said, the one with all your rotten qualities, I'll tear it up and put it in the bin. And your kind qualities, I'll give to Lay Ha to photocopy, to laminate them, and then you can take them home with you. It's only because we just keep forgetting our good qualities. And that's why I just can't believe it. I've known some of you for so many years, and you're amazing people, beautiful people, so kind and generous. I could trust you with so much. But, oh, you don't really know me, Ajahn Brahm. I think I know you better than you know yourself. Anyway, Ajahn Brahm, when did you know you wanted to become a monk? I wanted to, just don't know when the timing is right. You knew family responsibilities. No. The right time to become a monk is now. Didn't we say that this morning? The most important time is now. That's the only time you have. Are you ready? Any volunteers? When's the best time to meditate? When's the worst time to meditate? You haven't asked me that question, but I'm just saying the answer right away. The best time to meditate during the day is always now. The worst time to meditate is later. Smart added question, but there's a lot of truth to that. So when did you know you wanted to become a monk? Okay, to be honest with you, when I was about 19. I actually even wrote a little poem about that. I don't know where that's gone to now. The saffron robe, why I want to become a monk. And of course it took quite a few years before I became a monk. 23, became a monk, but never looked back. Can you explain in detail how you use the breath as a meditation object? For example, does your chest expand or your belly? I'm sure my belly expands, my chest expands, and lots of other things expand, but I don't pay any attention to that. I just know the breath's going in. I know the breath's going out. That's all. I keep it as simple as possible. Breath's going in, breath's going out. You know, when people haven't meditated before and I teach them the first time, it's so much easier. I tell them, close your eyes, breathe in and out 3 times. At the end of the 3rd breath, open your eyes. That's the only instruction I give. And afterwards, they all know because they open their eyes to know the 3rd breath. And I said, how did you know that? Did you know your chest was expanding, or your nose was feeling some experience of breath passing by? No, it just knew the breath was going in, it's going out. How you know, where you know it is not important. But you know it, that's important. And keep it as simple as possible. And it's breath meditation. It's not belly meditation. It's not nose meditation. It's breath meditation. You watch the breath. You know it's going in, you know it's going out. Simple. Oh. Okay, this is an interesting question. Mara came very strongly last night. Mara is the person who tried to stop the Buddha under the Bodhi tree getting enlightened, and presented herself to me very openly again today. Number 1, Mara is supposed to be male. So the problem there. She was delighting in suffering and tried to persuade me to enjoy what she enjoys. what to do. Tell Mara, Ajahn Brahm is in the teacher's kuti. You better go over there straight away. Otherwise you'll be in big trouble. So what it really means is you wanted to delight in suffering, in others probably some sexuality or something, to enjoy what she enjoys or whatever. So whenever that happens, say, no way, I'm on a retreat. I'll do it later on. Do you know how to procrastinate? Well, actually, I do that a lot, but with a lot of wisdom. When somebody invites me, say, look, I really need you to come to my house to do a ceremony. Or I need you to come to, say, Sydney or Melbourne, please, because we need some teachings over there. You know what I say? I say, I'll think about it. And that's it. If I say no, they argue with me. If I say yes, I always keep my promises. So my way out is, oh yeah, I'll think about it. And I've been thinking about some invitations for years and years and years and years. And I'm not lying, I just don't need to go. So that's how I procrastinate. So if Mara comes along and says to you, can you please enjoy what I enjoy? You say, well, I'll think about it. I'll get back to you. You don't say when you're going to get back. Dear Ajahn, my understanding of conceit is thinking we are better, worse, or the same as another person. Very good. What about comparing with our previous self? Is that also conceit? Yeah, because that's not you either. E.g., I'm worse than what I used to be, I'm better than what I was. Much better. Yeah, of course you can't really compare. Your memory is not accurate enough to compare what you were before. And sometimes we select some of our worst qualities and forget our good qualities, or we do the other way around. But that actually conceit, that's exactly. When I first heard that really threw me as well, because I thought conceit was always thinking you're better than others. I said, no, even thinking you're worse than others is conceit. Or thinking we're all the same is obviously wrong. So conceit is judging, measuring. You don't measure, you don't judge. You're not better or worse than other people, you're not the same as other people. Sometimes you may appear better, the next moment you appear worse. Which is the real you? None of them. So you don't judge at all. And just imagine you don't judge yourself or measure yourself. There's no way to sort of weigh your goodness or badness. No just measuring how deep your meditation is or how shallow it is. Then what would happen? You'd have nothing to do. So much of our life is about measuring. When you go beyond measures, it's so much freedom. Can you please talk more about kindfulness? Is it the same as compassion, self-compassion? How does it look in meditation practice in daily life? Thank you, Ajahn Brahm. So kindfulness is a combination of kindness and mindfulness. Because mindfulness is very, very strong these days. One of these really deep questions. This one over here. That is very profound, this one. And the answer to this question is... Okay. Anyway, for mindfulness, as kindfulness is the combination of kindness with mindfulness, putting them two together. So what you're aware of, you're kind to. I'll go through these last two questions quickly because I'm over time again. How important is the method of meditation compared with having a good foundation of sila? They all work together. You can't say one is more important than the other. If you have a good foundation, why do you have a good foundation of sila? It is because you are kind to yourself and kind to others. The Buddha gave this really powerful teaching to his son, Rahula. I always remember this. You know what, sometimes you keep precepts. How many precepts do you keep? 8, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And so for sometimes people say, oh, just keeping 5 precepts in the modern world is really hard. You go to business, you got to maybe bend the truth a little bit. Friends invite you out for just one glass of wine. Oh, it's just so hard. And so you say, okay, just keep 2 precepts. Can you do that? And for modern people in our modern world, they say, okay, we can keep 2 precepts. The first precept, this is a precept which the Buddha gave to his son. Don't do anything which harms or hurts another being. Not just human beings, any being, including yourself. Oh, that's unknown. Just hurts any other being. And the second precept is don't do anything which hurts or harms yourself. Powerful. And from that, what hurts or harms is all the other things: stealing, committing adultery, just lying, not being truthful, saying rotten words to one another. That hurts. That's why it's against the precepts. So just basic kindness means you can't break a precept. How many precepts do monks have to keep? It's not just 227, it's all the other ones as well. Bhikkhunis, they're much higher than us. They have 311 precepts. And lots more as well. It must be such a burden having to remember all those precepts. So in my old age, I just remember the 2 precepts. Don't do anything which harms another being. Don't do anything which harms yourself. Simple, but really powerful. Okay, so it's compassion and kindness and mindfulness. You know what you're doing, you're kind. Last question for today. What is the Buddhist outlook on having kicks and the potential influence effects on one's spiritual journey in samsara? Well, sometimes I thought about doing that, of having kicks, which I think you mean forming a football team. But if it was a soccer team especially, it would have to be played on Buddhist principles. And the Buddhist principles was, first of all, letting go. So if the other team wanted the ball, of course you'd give it to them first of all. So non-violence, you'd never have any tackles, my goodness. And also compassion. So if the other team couldn't score a goal, you score one for them. So that will be just, compassion, letting go, non-harming. So I thought of starting a footy team, but I thought no one would take us seriously. So there's the Buddhist outlook on having kicks. Of course, I know that's not what you meant, but that's what I answered, and I think that's good enough. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. That's not bad. I know I'm supposed to finish at 8:40. It's 8:55. Is that okay? Okay, thank you. Because even your interviews, they went on forever. Yesterday, today, oh my goodness me. But I don't mind. Something needs to be said, great. So have a wonderful evening. See you tomorrow, maybe, if you survive tonight. If Mara comes to you, please send him to Teacher's Cottage, the one which is on the east or the eastern room. Does anyone else want to visit for Mara tonight? Put your name down. You want to visit for Mara. Now that's why when we got our city centre, the suburb, Nola Mara, because when you add la, it's like they do that in Singapore a lot. How are you, la? Very good, la. And say no, la. Mara means really no, Mara.